the hidden reason you replay conversations after they're over. You know that thing you do at 2 a.m. where you replay a conversation from 3 days ago and suddenly think of the perfect thing you should have said? That's not you being thoughtful. That's your brain running a damage control protocol, and I'll show you exactly why in the next 20 seconds. Why it matters. This single mental habit shapes how you see yourself, how others see you, and whether you're growing or just spinning in place. 1. Social threat detection. Your brain treats awkward conversations like physical danger. When you replay that meeting where you stumbled over your words, your amygdala lights up the same way it would if you'd tripped in front of a crowd. Psychologists call this social pain, and it registers in the exact same neural pathways as a twisted ankle. Picture this. You're at dinner with friends, you make a joke, no one laughs, you move on. But 3 hours later, lying in bed, your brain is replaying that moment in 4K with director's commentary. What's happening? Your nervous system is scanning for threats to your social standing. It's trying to calculate, am I still safe in this group? The fix? Label it out loud. My brain is doing threat detection right now. Just naming it cuts the emotional charge by 40%. But here's what most people don't realize about why this happens. 2. The performance gap. You're not replaying conversations, you're comparing two versions of yourself. Every time you mentally rehash what you said, you're actually measuring the distance between who you were in that moment and who you think you should have been. That gap, that's where the shame lives. Imagine you're giving a presentation. You say, 6 times. Nobody else counts, but you do. Because you're not judging your actual performance, you're judging it against some imaginary flawless version that doesn't exist. Your brain gets stuck in this comparison loop. It releases cortisol every time you remember the mistake. You're literally stress training yourself to fear normal human interaction. The move? Write down what you actually said versus what you wish you'd said. The gap shrinks when you see it on paper. And there's a darker reason this keeps happening. 3. Unfinished business. Your mind treats incomplete social exchanges like open browser tabs. When a conversation ends without resolution, your brain files it under pending, and it will keep pulling that file until you either address it or consciously close it. Studies show unfinished tasks occupy 40% more mental bandwidth than completed ones. Real scenario? Your boss gives you vague feedback. Let's work on your communication style. That's it. No specifics. You leave the room. For the next week, you're replaying every email you sent, every meeting you ran, trying to decode what they meant. What's really happening? Your brain hates ambiguity. It's trying to complete the pattern, but it can't, so it just loops. Quick fix? Ask one clarifying question in the moment. Can you give me an example? Closes the loop before it starts spinning. But the pattern goes even deeper than that. 4. Validation hunger. You're not reviewing the conversation. You're trying to rewrite it so people finally see you the way you want to be seen. This is the brutal part. Every replay is a negotiation with an imaginary audience. You're trying to prove something that doesn't need proving. And the more you replay, the more you reinforce that you need external approval to feel okay. Picture it. You're texting someone you're interested in. They reply with, haha, cool. You spend 20 minutes analyzing the tone. Is haha enthusiastic or dismissive? Does cool mean they're interested or just being polite? Your brain is doing this because it's outsourced your self-worth. You're using their reaction as a mirror instead of trusting your own assessment. The antidote? One sentence. I said what I meant, and that's enough. Say it out loud. Sounds simple, feels impossible. Do it anyway. And this ties directly into the next trap. 5. Perfectionism masquerading as growth. You think you're learning from your mistakes. You're actually punishing yourself for being human. There's a difference between reflection and rumination. Reflection says, what can I do differently next time? Rumination says, why am I like this? One moves forward, one digs a hole. Here's the test. You're at a networking event. You mispronounce someone's name. Later, you replay it 50 times. Are you thinking, next time I'll ask them to repeat it? Or are you thinking, I'm so awkward, I always mess this up? The second version isn't self-improvement, it's self-flagellation disguised as productivity. And your brain? It can't tell the difference. It just knows you keep returning to the scene of the crime, so it assumes the threat is still active. The reframe? That happened. What's one micro adjustment I can make? Then drop it. But there's a sneakier version of this trap. 6. The control illusion. You replay conversations because it gives you the illusion that you can still change the outcome. Your brain loves control, and when something feels unresolved, it tricks you into thinking that mental rehearsal equals problem solving. It doesn't. You're just burning energy in a closed loop. Concrete example. You had an argument with a friend. It ended badly. Now you're mentally relitigating it. You're crafting better arguments, sharper comebacks, calmer responses. But here's the thing, none of that changes what already happened. What your brain is really doing, it's trying to manage anxiety through fantasy. It's giving you a false sense of agency so you don't have to sit with the discomfort of I can't control how that landed. The hard truth? The conversation is over. You can influence the next one, you can't rewrite the last one. The practice? Notice when you're replaying. Say, I'm trying to control the past. Then redirect to, what do I want to do now? And this connects to something even more primal. 7. Identity protection. Every replayed conversation is your brain trying to defend your sense of self. When you say something that doesn't align with how you see yourself, your mind goes into overdrive. It needs to reconcile the dissonance. I'm articulate versus I stammered through that pitch. Your brain will replay that pitch endlessly, trying to find evidence that you're still who you think you are. Real talk? You consider yourself empathetic, but in one heated moment, you snapped at your partner. Now you can't stop thinking about it, not because the moment was that bad, but because it threatened your self-concept. This is called cognitive dissonance, and your brain finds it physically uncomfortable, so it loops the memory, searching for a version of events where you're still the good guy. The release? I'm allowed to be inconsistent. One moment doesn't define me. You have to give yourself permission to be multidimensional. But even knowing this, there's one final twist. 8. The rumination reward. Your brain keeps you in the loop because, weirdly, it feels productive. Here's the kicker. Rumination triggers a small dopamine release. Why? Because your brain categorizes it as problem solving. You're not solving anything, but your brain doesn't know that. It just knows you're thinking hard about something, so it rewards you with a tiny chemical pat on the back. Example, you're lying in bed. You start replaying a conversation. Before you know it, 40 minutes have passed. You feel drained, but also strangely satisfied, like you did something. That satisfaction is the trap. You've trained your brain that rumination equals productivity, and now it craves it. What's actually happening? You're addicted to mental spinning because it feels like motion, but it's not motion. It's a treadmill. The interrupt. Set a timer. Give yourself 5 minutes to replay. When the timer goes off, you stop. Redirect to something tangible. A walk, a conversation, anything that's not more thinking. And if you're still stuck, 9. Avoidance in disguise. Replaying the past is often just a clever way to avoid the present. You're not actually processing what happened. You're using it as an escape hatch from something scarier, what you need to do now. Rumination is procrastination with a psychological alibi. Picture this. You have a difficult email to send. Instead of sending it, you spend an hour replaying the awkward Zoom call from last week. It feels like you're being introspective. You're not. You're stalling. Your brain prefers the known pain of the past over the unknown risk of the future. It would rather keep you safe in the replay loop than push you toward action. The cut-through, ask yourself, what am I avoiding by thinking about this right now? 9 times out of 10, you'll find the real issue.
And that leads to the final, hardest truth. 10. The need to be understood. Most replayed conversations are rooted in one quiet desperation. Did they get me? You're not just reviewing what you said, you're scanning for evidence that you were truly seen, that your words landed the way you intended, that you weren't misunderstood, dismissed, or misread. Last example, you open up to someone about something personal. They respond with, "Yeah, I get it," and you're left wondering, do they? Really? So you replay the whole conversation, dissecting their tone, their body language, looking for proof. This is the core wound. Not that you said the wrong thing, but that you weren't received the way you needed to be. And here's the unbearable part. Most of the time, you'll never know. You can't read minds. You can't force people to understand you the way you understand yourself. The only way out, you have to become the person who understands you, not them. You. The mantra, I know what I meant. That's enough. Summary. You replay conversations because your brain is wired to protect you, solve problems, and seek certainty. But most of the time, it's not protection, it's punishment. You're not learning from the past, you're hiding from the present. The pattern breaks when you stop treating every conversation like a performance review and start treating them like moments. Moments that happen, that end, and that you get to move on from. Here's the one truth that ties it all together. You can't outthink your way to peace, you have to outact your way there. If this hit, you know what to do, but let me be honest with you. Watching this video changes nothing unless you pick one thing, one pattern I just walked you through, and you interrupt it the next time it shows up. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, the next time, because you already know what you need to do. You're just waiting for permission. Consider this it.